All right, now calling the matter of State of Georgia versus Jari Williams Cortez, charged in warrant number 2024 WA86979, terroristic threats, criminal damage to property 2024 WA86980, and simple assault 2024 WA86981. Representing the state is ADA Thomas, representing the defendant, Attorney Rogers, your witness, ADA Thomas.
Officer Birch, can you please raise your right hand?
Wait, oh, there's the inmate, okay.
Do you solemnly swear and affirm that the evidence you shall not give before the court shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Put your hand down and state your name for the record.
Officer Birch, Clay County Police Department.
And were you so employed on November the 11th of 2024?
Yes, ma'am.
And did you have occasion to respond to 2232 Cypress Avenue?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you come into contact, and then, first of all, is that within the confines of the city of Morrow, Clayton County?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you come into contact with a Cortez Jare Williams?
Yes, ma'am.
What brought you into contact with him?
We had a call from the complainant, Kenneth Shorter, who stated that his girlfriend's brother was making threats to him and also assaulted him.
And by assaulted him, how did he assault him?
So he stated that he was dropping his girlfriend and the kids called him. Then when he came back, he asked Mr. Williams what was going on. He stated that Mr. Williams was under the influence of alcohol and he walks around the house regularly screaming. So he was trying to tell Mr. Williams to calm down and he brushed him off. Mr. Williams then came inside with a machete in his hand and made verbal threats to Mr. Shorter.
And what were the threats in the nature of?
I'll kill you. Come on, basically like and trying to entice him to fight Mr. Shorter.
Okay.
So he stated that he had walked off, and when he came back, Mr. Shorter now was in the time cooking, making himself a hot dog, and he brushed Mr. Shorter on his right shoulder. And that's when Mr. Shorter said he felt in fear for his life. The machete wasn't out at this point. It was in his back in like the little holster.
Mm-hmm.
And when Mr. Shorter pushed him away, he pulled the machete out. And at that time, Mr. Williams walked downstairs and got a metal aluminum bat and started damaged the bedroom door and the wall in the hallway.
Was this Mr. Williams' apartment?
It was his place of residence. It wasn't his apartment, it was his sister's house, but it's his place of residence. He held residency there.
He lives with his sister?
Correct.
Did he have her permission to damage her property?
No, he did not have permission.
Now, when he was walking around with the machete threatening the victim, were there other individuals in the apartment?
Yes, everybody was in the apartment, but they were locked away in rooms. They said that they were scared to come out their rooms. It was two sisters, and they had a little juvenile. They were really.
You said it was a juvenile?
Yeah, they were all juveniles, really, 16, 17, and I think a younger child.
Okay. And did they hear the threats that Mr. Williams was making towards the victim, Mr. Shorter?
Yes, they stated they heard the threats.
Were they afraid?
Yes, that's why they didn't come out the room.
Did you find a machete while you were on the property?
Yes, I did.
Where'd you find the machete?
Actually, upon arrival, Mr. Shorter had the machete in his hand and he was told to drop it. So we found it directly walking through the hallway.
And he got it from Mr. Williams?
That's correct.
Did he indicate how he got it from Mr. Williams?
When he stated it was in the kitchen, he pushed him and pulled it out of his back. Pretty much disarmed the suspect.
Okay. Did you find the metal bat?
Yes, I did.
Did you see any damage to the home?
Yes, I did.
What did you see?
there was a hole on the wall on the bedroom door, and right there on the corner of the wall as you walk in through the foyer, there was a lot of paint transfer from the bat. The same markings that was on the bat is the same markings that was on the wall. They coincide with each other. Pretty much let me know that he used the metal bat because I saw metal markings on the corner of the wall where the paint has been chipped away.
Were you able to get an estimate as to the extent of the damage?
Yes, I was.
How much?
Um, he stated that it's going to be an estimate cost of $700 in damages.
And you got that estimate from who?
Mr. Shorter.
Okay. Did the defendant make any statements to you as to what happened?
Um, he has stated that they mess with him all the time, but I really couldn't get a definitive statement from him because he was under the influence and he really was just screaming and trying to argue with me and my other officers as we was trying to calm him down. Um, he really didn't give a set statement on exactly what had happened because he was very irate and mad.
Was he very irate and intoxicated?
Correct.
And the witnesses, they overheard the entire thing?
For the most part, while they was in the kitchen, they heard that.
They left the kitchen and went to their rooms?
They wasn't really in the kitchen, but the older sister had pulled her rest of her siblings into her room just so they all could be in the same space. And her room is closest to the kitchen, so that's how they heard the comments. And
what, if any, relationship is the victim to them?
the victim is actually the defendant's sister's boyfriend.
Was she present?
No, he was dropped her at work. She was at work that night.
So he drops her off at work and he comes home and Mr. Williams is there?
Yes.
Does he know why Mr. Williams is there? Oh, you said he lives there.
Yeah, he lives there. He lives downstairs in the basement.
Oh, okay then. Does he know what set the defendant off?
Nope. They say he regularly drinks and he walks around and he does that. It's just the first time that it really got violent.
Okay. And you weren't able to get the straight of it one way or the other from him?
Excuse me?
You weren't able to get his version of it?
Correct.
Were any photographs taken?
Photographs were taken of the machete and the bat that was placed in evidence.
What about body cam? Was yours working?
Yes, ma'am.
What about the other officers on the scene?
Everybody body cam was on and active.
Last thing, was there any video in the home itself?
No video.
Did the witnesses make any statements?
They did write statements.
Okay. And I believe that's all I have reserved right for redirect. Oh, I'm sorry, I want to ask one really important question. I believe I asked you about the address, but the person that you saw that night, do you see them here today?
Yes, I do.
Could you describe them by physical appearance or article of clothing?
Orange jumpsuit, about 6'2", low haircut, beard.
Okay. And that's the same person you saw at night that did all of this?
That's correct.
Okay. Now state, that's all I have reserved right for redirect.
All right. Officer, you're the lead on the case,
Yes, sir.
and I heard you refer to Mr. Shorter as a complainant, but do you know who actually called the police that night?
Well, he called the police. The children, the juveniles in the home called him and told them about the actions of their older brother.
So if I understand correctly, you say Mr. Shorter. When you say he, you mean Mr. Shorter called the police?
Correct.
And if I guess, I just want to make sure I'm clear. You say that there's some threats that are made. Who, and you've mentioned that there are witnesses. Who are the witnesses? Like, how many witnesses are we talking about first?
To Latoya Williams and Leonicia Williams,
Mm.
the Mr. Cortez Williams' younger sisters.
And then I think you mentioned a nurse or something at some point, if I remember correctly, or something.
Yes, the nurse was there. She heard a little bit what's going on, and she's another witness, but Mr. Shorter told her to leave the scene so she could really be safe, and she went by to a near side gas station and waited till we got there.
So as far as who witnessed what, the sisters that you mentioned, um, what are they supposed to have witnessed?
So they witnessed them and the nurse all witnessed the events that happened inside the kitchen, basically saying, "I'll kill you."
Okay, and just so I'm clear, when you're saying that the nurse, did you actually talk to her at some point? I know you said she was off the scene.
Yeah, she came back and she wrote a statement, and I actually talked to her.
And when you're talking to everybody, I guess, what what's the procedure? Like, how are they all together? Are they out of
We
earshot? How does that work out?
we split everybody up, and I talked to them individually. Sometimes just for me to go confirm, I talked to them twice just to make sure their stories are suffice, and that's what I did. After all the officers had cleared the scene and I had Mr. Williams in custody, I just went back and got confirmation on everybody's story just to make sure it was the same confirmation I got before.
And do people write when they're telling you about the threat? Are they telling you exact versions of what they heard? As far as are they? Let me ask it this way: what's the first person to say? What is the wording that they tell you that they heard?
The first person, well, I talked to Mr. Williams first, but the next person that I talked to, as far as a witness, it would be the nurse. She said she's arrived like 11 or like around 10, and she saw Mr. Williams walking around, making an outburst. And when Mr. Shorter came into the kitchen, she said she heard, come on, I'll kill you." Um, at that time, she didn't see the initial assault because the way the house is set up, the kitchen is behind where she was sitting and her back was turned to it. So the only thing that she stood up and witnessed is Mr. Williams slapping the cup out of Mr. Shorter's hand. And Mr. Shorter told her to leave at that point.
And when you say the assault, what are you referring to? Like, what specific action do you have in mind?
When he came into the kitchen and pushed on his right shoulder, pushed Mr. Shorter while
Let
he
me
was
ask. Oh, go ahead.
no, just while he was cooking.
Let me ask because I want to make sure this is the report and that it's your report. Because the way I read it in the report, yeah, it looks like this is your report. Let's see. Says he stated while he was in the kitchen cooking, the suspect put his hand on the victim's shoulder. And
Hmm.
so I guess I'm unclear on this. It's one thing to put your hand on somebody's shoulder versus shoving them. So that's what I'm trying to get clear on. What's supposed to have happened exactly?
Well, he pretty much basically didn't want to be touched, and he was already irate with Mr. Williams, so he was trying to de-escalate the situation. So that's why he told me that he was in fear, and that's why he pushed Mr. Williams.
Yeah, I just want to make sure I'm clear though, because what I thought I heard was that Mr. Williams was supposed to have pushed.
Well,
Sort of.
places, and I guess he took it as a push because he was trying to give us a mixed breeding. So that's why I just put in my report that he put his hand on the shoulder.
And then it's at that point, and so that's what I'm asking. I guess I'm trying to make something clear. Is that what the nurse is saying that she saw?
No, that's what Mr. Shorter told me she saw. The nurse was already gone at the time.
Right, but I'm saying you talked to the nurse eventually, right?
Yeah.
Did she tell you she saw that?
No, she didn't tell me she saw that.
Did you ask her about it?
Yes. We asked her, did she see any physical contact between Mr. Shorter and Mr. Williams? And she's saying it's just a slap of the cup.
When did that happen?
It wasn't a report because none of the other witnesses see it, and Mr. Shorter didn't state that, so I didn't place that in my report.
Yeah, no, I was just asking, as in, was it supposed to have happened at the same time that the hand gets put on the shoulders? Is earlier? Like, when does it?
Yeah, that was like right before he placed his hand on the shoulder.
Not to keep going around, but I want to make sure I'm clear that I heard you. I thought you said Mr. Shorter said the nurse did see the part about the shoving and the hand on the shoulder, right? You said he said that she did see it, right?
No, she didn't.
No, I'm saying I thought you said Mr. Shorter said she saw that part.
Well,
Said
I put what he stated, but I didn't. It was having mixed communication between the witness and the suspect, but I still just have to document what everybody said they saw.
Oh yeah, I'm just trying to get clear on. I'm not like trying. Like I'm really just trying to make sure I understood. You were saying that Mr. Shorter told you that the nurse saw the shove or the hand on the shoulder, correct? That Mr. Shorter told you the nurse saw that,
Yes,
but the nurse did not say that she saw that.
correct.
But it's at that point that, excuse me, let me make it be a little more clear. The point at which the hand is on the shoulder, that's when Mr. Shorter turns and this shoves and disarms Mr. Williams. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And that version, that's only Mr. Shorter saying that part, correct?
Yes.
And about the damage that you said that you saw, um, I guess first question, do you know what the condition of the location was before the incident? Like they might tell you one way or the other what had just happened as far as the damage.
I know from what Mr. Shorter was telling me that it wasn't damaged before, and none of the other doors looked like it had holes in them. It did look like it was struck by an object.
And I think that Mr. Shorter gave you an estimate. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Did the did he give you the basis for the estimate?
Yeah, he just gave me a base on how much everything would cost to fix.
Right. What I'm asking is like, did he tell you where he was getting that number from?
No, he did not.
Did he tell you he does any kind of like, like rehab or like construction or anything like that?
No, he does not. He did not.
Um, I think that might be it. No further questions at this time. Judge, you're on mute. I don't know if you said anything.
I didn't realize I was on mute. All right, any redirect?
Very briefly, Your Honor. Officer,
Yes, ma'am.
is it your understanding, Mr. Shorter Mr. Shorter indicate to you that he was threatened?
Yes.
Was he in fear for his life?
Yes, the complainant stated that he felt threatened and in fear for his life, so he pushed the suspect back, telling him to get off him.
And is that because he had the weapon?
Yes,
The witnesses, they were locked in a room, correct?
correct,
But could they hear what was going on in the kitchen?
correct.
Were they in fear for their lives?
They didn't say they was in fear for their life, but that they was just scared.
They said they were scared.
Yeah.
And was that because of what Mr. Shorter was doing or because of what Mr. Williams was doing?
Not really doing, but more of what he was saying.
Which he?
Mr. Williams was saying
Okay,
on his interaction with Mr. Shorter.
okay. And did Mr. Shorter witness Mr. Williams damaging the inside of the house?
Yes, he stated that he seen him hit the wall and hit the door, bedroom door, because Mr. Shorter is the one that showed me the damages on the exact places that house was damaged.
And he indicated that the damage was in excess of $700 or somewhere in the neighborhood of $700?
Correct.
Okay. Yeah, that's all I have.
Closing arguments. ADA Thomas.
I like to stand on the officer's evidence, testimony on.
All right, Attorney Rogers.
Judge, I guess I'll be moving number one to dismiss the terroristic threat, the criminal damage charge. I'm gonna start there. For one, there's been no testimony that the court could, form its own idea about the extent of the damage or the value of the damage. But what I mean is there's been no testimony about, say, the size of the hole, the materials involved, or anything of the sort. Additionally, there's been no basis to really give any credence to the estimate of what appears to be just a layperson. He's not basing it on, having got an estimate from a person who's going to do the work. There's been no testimony that he works in the field or that he has any prior experience doing anything like that that would give his estimate any weight. It's just a number pulled out of thin air. That's not an evidentiary basis. To the extent that damage is alleged, I would say that, if he's saying that he saw a wall be damaged, that would be criminal trespass. I would agree to that. So I guess more of what I'm arguing for is a reduction of the charge from criminal damage to a criminal trespass. As it relates to the terroristic threats, I'll submit on that. The simple assault, I guess if I'm understanding, is a person putting a hand on the shoulder. But if I understood the testimony, Mr. Shorter didn't see the hand coming, and the reason I mention that is because he couldn't apprehend it. If you didn't see it coming, it's just a touch. It's not an attempt to inflict harm, is what was alleged, anything like that. It was just someone a hand on the shoulder. I understand what the officer was saying about Mr. Shorter may have been, in an agitated mood or anything like that. But that still doesn't transform it into some sort of assault, and it doesn't explain the part about him having to apprehend the contact, which is what's required for an assault. So for those reasons, I ask that charge be dismissed for lack of probable cause. Thank you.
All right, so based upon the evidence presented, I do find it sufficient probable cause to bind all three cases over to the Superior Court of Clayton County. That's the order of the court.
Officer Birch, thank you. You're excused.
I'm gonna keep going. I've made other arrangements. So just let me know what defendant you want to handle next.
Let me go ahead and do Strouder, Your Honor.
Strouder, okay, one moment. Deputy, if you can get Strouder.
Officer Mosby. Officer, we can't see you at all. I can see your hand. That is it.
you see me?
Yeah, just barely, but we see you. Mr. Rogers, is this sufficient?
Yeah, I can see.
All right. Strader, right? Is this Mr. Strader?
Yes,
All right.
ma'am.
All righty. Let me grab the paperwork. All right. Now calling the matter of Artie Wayne Strader, State of Georgia versus Artie Wayne Strader, charged in warrant numbers 2024 WA 86810, defective windshield, 2024 WA 86811, driving on suspended license, 2024 WA 86813, turn signal violation, 2024 WA 86814, trafficking ecstasy, 2024 WA 86815, possession of marijuana over an ounce, 2024 WA 86815, possession of marijuana with the intent to distribute, and 2024 WA 86817, possession of a controlled substance. Representing the state, Attorney ADA Thomas, representing the defendant, Attorney Rogers, your witness, ADA Thomas. Oh, you're on mute. ADA Thomas, you're on mute.
I'm trying to get her to unmute. Officer Mosby, can you turn your audio on? Thank you. Could you state your name for the record?
Officer M. Mosby.
Okay, let me swear you in first. Raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear and affirm that the evidence you shall give before the court shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
Put your hand down and now state your name for the record again.
Officer M. Mosby
How are you employed?
with Clayton County Police Department.
And were you so employed on November the 8th of 2024?
Yes, ma'am.
Were you on or about, did you observe an incident on or about 2020, at Terra Boulevard at the intersection with Highway 138 within the confines of the city of Jonesboro?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
And is that location within Clayton County?
Yes, ma'am.
And did you come into contact at that location with Artie Wayne Strouder?
Yes, ma'am. While driving around on Terra Boulevard, I observed the vehicle which Mr. Strouder was operating change lanes without utilizing a turn signal. When I activated the lights and sirens on my police vehicle, he pulled to the left instead of to the right, which I felt was unsafe. I attempted to instruct him by using my intercom within my patrol vehicle to pull to the right instead to conduct a safe traffic stop on the vehicle. He didn't, I guess, hear me on my intercom, so I pulled on to the right side of his vehicle, asked him or indicated for him to roll his passenger side window down so I can instruct him to pull to the right side. When he rolled his window down, I smelled the odor of marijuana emanating from the vehicle. I instructed him to pull to the parking lot, which was located on the right side of the roadway on Terra Boulevard at the intersection with Highway 138. When he pulled over, I approached his vehicle, made contact with him. I observed that he had an obstructing view of his license plate. He also had a crack to his windshield as well.
Let me stop you 1 second. When you say the license plate was obstructed, what does that mean?
So he actually had a tinted license plate cover, which was obscuring the view, the proper view of the license plate. It actually was hard to read when I was trying to conduct the traffic stop, and I couldn't read it initially because it was tinted until I got closer and I was able to view it better. Therefore, the view was obscured.
When you say you had to get closer, was that when you were walking actually out of your vehicle on foot, looking at
No,
it?
ma'am. When I was driving behind his vehicle, attempting to inform dispatch of the traffic stop, we usually provide dispatch with a license plate number that we're pulling over.
Okay.
I had to actually try to get closer to his vehicle to observe the license plate in comparison to a vehicle that did not have a tinted license plate cover over the license plate.
Would that cause you to get within, I guess, what I would consider to be a less than safe distance from his vehicle just so you could see what the plate said?
No,
Okay, so you could see the plate, you just had to get close.
right.
Okay, so what happened next?
He pulled into the parking lot on the right side of Terra Boulevard. I approached his vehicle, made contact with him, informed him of the reason for the traffic stop, at which point he provided me with his, I believe his license initially. I advised him that I did smell marijuana emanating from the vehicle. I told him that I was gonna have to remove him from the vehicle in order to conduct a search of the vehicle due to the probable cause of the odor of marijuana from the vehicle. He advised that he wasn't gonna get out of the vehicle. I then called for additional units, in which I believe 3 additional officers did arrive on scene, including a canine officer. As they were arriving on scene, Mr. Strouder did comply and eventually did get out of the vehicle. So by the time the other officers arrived on scene, he actually was out of the vehicle already. At which point that a canine, police canine did walk around the vehicle. They indicated that there was narcotics inside of the vehicle.
Wait a minute, hold up, stop.
Okay.
How did you know that the canine was indicating? Did the canine, and please forgive me, I'm not trying to be funny, but did the canine talk to y'all, or what did it do, if anything, to indicate that there was something going on with the vehicle?
This specific canine, Homer, has a specific alert. His alert is that he sits in the area that the narcotic is smelled. So he sat at the driver's side of the vehicle, and he also sat at the passenger side front compartment of the vehicle to indicate that's his specific alert that he has located narcotics.
Okay, that he's smelling something.
Right.
Okay, cool. Now, after the K-9 alerted in those locations, what happened next, if anything?
I conducted a search of the vehicle and located narcotics inside of the vehicle.
Tell me what you found.
I found ecstasy pills, which tested positive for MDMA and fentanyl. And I also found a green leafy substance that I sent both to the GBI for official testing.
Let's go back to the ecstasy. How much did you find?
If I recall correctly, want to say that it was, because I did weigh it twice. When I got it to the evidence room, if I'm not mistaken, it was 36 grams.
What form was it in?
It was in pill form.
And you say it was ecstasy and fentanyl. Was it mixed, or you don't
It
know?
was the pills tested positive for MDMA and fentanyl.
So some of them were they the same shape or color or what have you, or were they like a mixture?
They were different colored. However, the pills that I tested positive for MDMA and fentanyl.
So it was a mix in one pill.
That's correct. Yes, ma'am.
And the marijuana, how much did that come out to be? What was the weight?
That was a little over 40 grams.
So that's more than an ounce, I think.
That's correct, ma'am.
Okay. And how was it packaged?
I believe it was in a bag or some kind of plastic container.
Was it individually packaged?
Yes, they were packaged in individual baggies within another bag.
Is that what have you had occasion to arrest people for marijuana possession before?
Yes, ma'am.
Have you seen what is generally described as personal use?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah,
Would
hold on,
be
Judge.
considered consistent with
Wait,
that?
hold on, ADA Thomas. Go ahead, Attorney Rogers.
Judge, I would object. Personal use, that's vague, and it calls for speculation.
I agree. All right, so, sustained.
Your Honor,
Go
may
ahead.
I be allowed to reply to his objection?
Go ahead, yes.
The officers indicated that she's performed marijuana arrests before. It would be within her knowledge, training, and experience to know what would be considered as personal use as opposed to something that is beyond that use. If she is not familiar with it, then she can indicate that she does not know. But based on what she has done in the past, her knowledge, her training, her experience, it is not as the state's contention that she would know what would be considered personal use.
And I'm gonna sustain his objection because what's personal use for her may not be personal use for me.
Well, it
Judge,
wouldn't be
Attorney
for her,
Rogers.
because I'm assuming she's not using. It will be what she has seen out there in the field dealing and making these types of arrests.
I'm gonna sustain the objection. Go ahead.
Officer, were the items packaged for sale in your training and experience?
Being that they were individually packaged in bags that were the same weight, I would say that they were packaged for sale. Yes, ma'am.
And is that the basis for the with intent to distribute charge?
Yes, ma'am.
I see you also have in charge of possession of a Schedule II controlled substance. Was there another substance found in the vehicle beyond the meth and fentanyl and the marijuana itself?
No, that's due to the separation of the testing positive for MDMA and fentanyl in the
And-
same pill.
Okay. Now, officer, let's get back to the vehicle itself. What was the condition of the vehicle?
That's vague, Judge. I think it's so vague, the witness isn't even sure what the answer
I
is.
believe it's vague. She can tell either the vehicle was okay, vehicle wasn't okay.
I didn't understand the question either. Go ahead and restate it for me.
What was the condition of the vehicle? The defendant is charged with a defective windshield, and she would need to, I want her to indicate whether or not.
That's still very broad, ADA Thomas, but let's see if she can answer it.
Also, did you observe anything about the condition of the vehicle?
The body of the vehicle was fine. The windshield was cracked, greater than 3 inches.
And when you say crack, what are we talking about here?
A defect in the windshield.
Was it like spider webbed or just a crack on it?
I would describe it as a long crack that curved at the end of the crack, pretty much straight across the driver's view of the windshield, out of the windshield.
Okay. And was the vehicle registered?
Yes, the vehicle was registered with an expired registration.
Okay. And an expired registration, does that mean the vehicle is not supposed to be operated?
That is correct.
Now, officer, we've discussed quite a bit about the drugs that were found. Were they field tested in any way?
Yes, ma'am. I field tested the pills and indicated that they tested positive for MDMA and fentanyl. I also did field test the green leafy substance, which came back positive with THC in it.
And you did the field test yourself, not one of the other officers?
I did the field test myself.
Okay. And I believe that's all I have. The officer reserved right for redirect.
All right, Attorney Rogers.
Thank you. Officer, it sounds like you're the lead on this one, right? You initiated the stop.
Yes, sir.
And I guess I kind of want to get clear on the start of the stop. If I understand correctly, the stop was initiated because Mr. Straughter, you say, failed to use a turn signal, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Where were you at in relation to Mr. Straughter's vehicle?
If I'm not mistaken, so that area of Terra Boulevard has 3 lanes. I can't remember if I was in the right lane or the center lane, but whatever lane I was in, he did a left turn maneuver into the lane that I was occupying without using a turn signal. This is also captured on my dash cam.
Tell him a little bit. If you said you were either in the right lane or the center lane, correct?
Can you repeat that?
You said you were in the right or the center lane. You said you weren't sure, but either the right or the center lane.
Yes, sir. I just know I wasn't in the far left lane.
And I guess that's kind of part of my question then is, all right, well, let's start here. Were you behind him, in front of him, beside him? When you say he moved into your lane, where were you at?
So I would have been positioned behind him because he cut my vehicle off without using a turn signal.
You said it was captured on your dash cam?
I'm sorry?
You said it was captured on your dash cam?
Yes, sir. I made sure when I approached his vehicle that it was all recorded.
And I think I understand what you're saying, but I don't like to assume. When you say like you were able to review the video before you got out and made contact?
At some point during the traffic stop, I can't remember if it was once I got him back to the precinct for paperwork, but I did review the footage and confirmed that that incident was recorded.
And then if I understand, so once he pulls over, at some point, I think you said you smell marijuana coming from the vehicle.
That's correct.
Are you saying that you're smelling raw or burnt marijuana?
It smelled kind of burnt, and I believe I asked him if he had recently smoked in the vehicle.
Did you see any kind of smoke or anything?
Did I see smoke?
Right.
No, sir.
And so if I'm understanding, the basis for the search was the fact that you had smelled what you thought was burnt marijuana, essentially.
The reason for searching the vehicle was because I smelled the odor of marijuana emanating from his vehicle.
Let me ask, I guess, do you have, and not, I guess you specifically, but law enforcement in general, do you have any training to distinguish the smell of like CBD and hemp products versus marijuana, quote unquote, marijuana products?
Oh, no, sir.
And I thought you said you did a field test on the marijuana.
That is
did I hear
correct.
that? Okay. When you say you did a field test on it, that's a little, I would say most officers don't, to my knowledge, haven't done those. How does the field test work? Walk me through that process. What's the field test?
The reason why I did the field test is because one time during preliminary hearing, you actually asked the same question if I did do a field test. So preparing for that question, I did do a marijuana field test. I did remove a sample of the green leafy substance from the bag that Mr. Schroeder had his green leafy substance contained in. I placed a small amount of that substance within the appropriate marijuana field test kit. I crushed the tubules and waited for the test to indicate a positive, and at which point, after I waited, it did indicate that it was positive for marijuana.
And when you say it indicates that it's positive for marijuana, does it say like how much THC? Like how does it define marijuana? Let me ask you like that.
It's scientifically tested and it did test positive for marijuana. It doesn't tell you a percentage because there's no numbers on the test.
Well, when you say marijuana, I guess that's what I'm trying to get clear on. My question, I guess, is, and well, let me ask you because I don't want to assume that we have the same understanding. Is it your understanding that marijuana requires a certain amount of THC?
I'm clear on that.
And so what I'm asking, I guess, is does the test, when you say a test for marijuana, what does that mean? Like, does it test for I guess you said it doesn't have an amount. So does it test for THC? Does it test for CBD? Does it test for, delta THC-8? Like, what does it say exactly what it's testing for?
It shows you a color which indicates if the substance that you're testing is positive or not positive for marijuana.
And I just want to make sure my question is clear because if that's your answer, that's your answer. I'm not asking you to change it, but I just want to make sure I'm being clear. Does it say that it's testing for the presence of THC?
Your question is clear. I tested it for marijuana, sir.
Okay. So you don't know whether or not there was THC. It doesn't tell you whether or not it's THC or not.
I'm not sure.
And then going back to the other substances, I think I was pretty clear on those field tests. I'm assuming they're just the standard, same idea that you just explained to us for the THC, for the marijuana, correct?
Yes, sir.
Let me ask, so does the test, when you say it tells you that it's positive for fentanyl and MDMA, is this all?
Hold on.
How does it?
I'm sorry. When you leaned your head back, I missed the first portion of your question.
Okay. I was saying, when you said that it tests positive for fentanyl and MDMA, what is this? I guess what I'm trying to get clear on is it a certain color associated with that mixture? Is it one, how does that part go that you end up knowing that there's supposed to be a mixture in there?
So what I did was, because there were so many pills, I actually used the same pill and broke it up into several tiny pieces in order to fit into the field test kit. I took a piece of that pill and tested it for the MDMA because based on my knowledge, training, and experience, it did appear to be ecstasy/MDMA. I used an MDMA field test kit, at which point that I crushed the tubules on the field test kit. The field test kit did turn indigo, which indicates a positive reading for MDMA. I then did the same for the same pill with a fentanyl test kit, and it did also indicate a positive color as well.
And just make sure I heard you right. You said it was the same pill, but you crushed it up into a couple of different pieces and put one in each, the MDMA and the fentanyl kit.
Yes, sir. I did each test 2 times as well.
And just to ask about that license plate issue. I know you discussed that it was tinted, but you didn't have to remove anything, like you didn't have to remove anything from the plate or anything to see a number?
No, I didn't remove anything from his license plate.
Did the tag reader read it?
Did the what?
Your tag reader, was it able to read the plate?
Oh, sadly, I don't have a tag reader, sir.
Really?
Yeah,
those
only
are
certain
standard.
vehicles do.
Oh, okay. I thought those were standard issue.
Mhm.
And everything that you discussed as far as once you made contact with the vehicle, that's all captured on your body cam.
Yes, sir.
No further questions at this time.
Right. Any redirect?
None from the state, Your Honor.
All right, closing arguments. Go ahead.
I'll reserve to the end.
All right, Attorney Rogers.
If I could just have one moment, Judge, just want to make sure I got the charges in front of me.
Let me say that again.
I said if I could just have one moment, I just want to get
Oh,
the
okay.
charges in front of me real quick.
Okay. Mhm.
And okay, so I'm gonna just start with, I guess, the charges in the order that I see them on the calendar, Judge. I'm aware that the officer testified about a crack in the windshield. However, maybe I missed, but I didn't hear anything that would support a finding that it was obstructing Mr. Strawler's vision. So I'll ask that that charge be dismissed. The As far as and I paused because I was looking at the way that the charges are listed on here. What I see is alteration of tag. I assume that's the part that is related to the obscure tag charge as it was discussed in the hearing. My issue with that is that, nothing had to be removed. The fact that, it was a tinted plate over it of some sort, in and of itself, that doesn't mean that the tag has been sufficiently obstructed. It's nothing had to be removed to be able to read the numbers. Like none of the numbers were covered up or anything like that. Just seems like there was, I guess a tinted cover of some sort on it. And the officer didn't mention having to get, butt so close to better see it. I understand she said she had to get, she didn't see it, I guess, at some distance, but at some point she was able to see it, didn't have to remove anything. So I'd ask that charge be dismissed also. The registration issue, I guess I'll submit on that one. And as far as the signal, as it relates to the possession of marijuana charge, Judge, and looks like an intent to distribute charge. My argument with that one is that, and I appreciate, what the officer testified to as far as one of our previous hearings. So, I certainly appreciate anybody who tries to learn and improve and things like that. But what I will point out, and it's not a slight on the officer at all, it's just, it might be the state of technology, but there was no discussion that it was clear that what was being tested for specifically. When you say you're testing for marijuana, that needs to be an indication one way or the other that there's THC in it, and specifically beyond a certain level in Georgia, or else it's just hemp. As it's not clear what substance qualifies something as marijuana for purposes of the test, and it's not saying that it's tested for THC. I would say that field test is insufficient at this point to support a finding of marijuana versus CBD or hemp. The CBD market, as everybody knows, I think is growing. It's a large market. It's kind of the opposite of if it looks like a duck. It quacks like a duck. It might look like weed and smell like weed, but be CBD. And that's what the point of the testing is. And people, I would say that there's people who only want it to be CBD, and then I'm sure there's people who are, passing CBD off as something other than or more than CBD. So at this point, I would say that any charges related to the marijuana are premature. As it relates to what I think seems to be an ecstasy trafficking charge, I guess my My issue with that would be that it's not, if we're saying that it's a mixture of substances, it's not clear what the weight of either one was. I would entertain that there would be enough to support a charge of possession of either one. But when we start talking about trafficking, that requires an amount, a weight of the MDMA specifically. If it's, half and half of what we're talking about, I believe, if I wrote it down, I don't recall it being that large of an amount. 36 grams is what I saw, is what I have down. If it's half and half, that's 18 grams. It would have to be, by my math, more than 75% MDMA for it to be over an ounce of MDMA. So all that said, those charges just be reduced to simple possession charges, Judge, as opposed to traffic. Thank you.
Go ahead, Adrian Thomas.
Now, the state would contend that based on the officer's testimony, based on her knowledge, training, and experience, sufficient evidence has been presented to substantiate transferring all the charges to Superior Court. Regarding defense counsel's concern about the defective windshield, I believe the officer indicated that the crack ran across the windshield, across the driver's side of the windshield, which would obstruct his vision. The officer did indicate she field tested positive. The items that were recovered, which was a ecstasy fentanyl mix pill and marijuana more than an ounce, that was packaged for distribution. The officer also indicated that the item that was recovered was also a Schedule II controlled substance. That was the fentanyl pill, the fentanyl MDMA pill mix, and thus charged him appropriately. State would contend that sufficient evidence has been presented through the officer's testimony that the case be transferred in its entirety to Superior Court.
All right. So based upon the evidence presented, I'm going to bind over everything except the obscuring the license plate. So the license plate, which is warrant 2024 WA 868E86812, I will be dismissing that one, and all the rest will be bound over to the Superior Court of Clayton County. That's the order of the court.
Officer, hang on. We've got a couple of more of yours.
Yes, ma'am.